and a big warm welcome to this week's episode of Colors of India. We're back as usual with all things fancy from the world of art, music and culture. But before we go ahead, a quick look at the top stories.
Swan Lake revisited. The many manifestations of Stree. The story of a deliberately forgotten history.
Kathak, tap dance, flamenco and classical ballet and jazz came together in a collaborative effort to recreate the story of the Swan Lake. It was an Indo-French collaborative effort.
Swan Lake, the classical ballet, is about the darkest of human emotions, of lust for power, obsession and greed. Swan Lake Revisited was a theatrical reproduction by the Rhythmosaic Dance Company, an Indo-French dance production.
It's a fusion of two dances, classical jazz and Kathak. And finally, not many people know that classical jazz has been very strongly influenced by Kathak. So in this performance, it's very interesting to see that you don't really see the difference between the Kathak passages and the jazz passages, but finally everything melts together.
Here, Prince Siegfried falls in love with beautiful Odette, who is turned into a swan by the evil Von Robert when she rejects his advances. The story of their separation, longing and desires unfolds through various dance forms. Kathak to represent Odette's beauty and charm. Tap dance to portray Siegfried's deep love and passion.
The Swan Lake is, it's an epic masterpiece. Everybody knows Swan Lake as a beautiful ballet, Prince and Princess, and it's a classical ballet production. Only Matthew Bourne has done some changes, but on the basis of classical ballet. But here, the first time in India, and I can also say in the world, that the Swan Lake is happening with the blending of classical Kathak, classical jazz dance, and also the motifs of flamenco with tap. So the theme over here in Swan Lake is we are trying to portray the darker side of human life, because when you talk about Swan Lake, it's all pretty, it's all beautiful. You will also find beautiful dancers over here, but the most important thing, we are not forgetting the virtue and the vices within.
Mitul Sengupta, through her perfect Kathak movements and delicate expressions, portrayed both Odette and Odile convincingly. Jorma Loring, one of Europe's finest tap dancers, played the role of the prince, voodoo puppets were used to signify the curse, and flamenco interspersed classical jazz dance by Romy Shambik Ghosh portrayed the evil Van Robart.
I would really request everyone to actually take a lesson from Swan Lake, and it's a beautiful presentation by the Rezon Mosek dance group from Calcutta, and I really feel that they should be, this should be showcased across India and the world as a creative process of Indo-French production, as what people, countries together, an amalgamation of different cultures can do.
The rhythm of music and dance shifted effortlessly from morose to merry. And the most striking bit was the seamless progression of the recital from one dance form to the other.
Culture is nothing but expression of human sentiment. The stories are same, the narratives are same. The expressions become different depending upon where you come from. And to bring all those expressions together in the same narrative, describing them in different genres of dances, and somehow establish the dialogue between the different genres is a very interesting idea.
Swan Lake Revisited saddles 2 time zones and celebrates the many hues of life like love, passion, virtue and vices, which are an ever constant part of our world.
Effective lighting, perfect blend of music and dance, and a choreography that captured every human emotion. Swan Lake Revisited was indeed a treat. Well, it's now time for us to take a tiny break, but Colors of India will be right back. Welcome back. We now embark on a journey, and just like the name suggests, the art exhibition was put together to reveal the journey of 10 artists as they evolved together with their art.
A journey from then to now, a passage through time and life, change being the only constant. 10 established artists thought of putting their works together after several years of creating art that mirrored the changing age and times. This art show spoke of their journey and evolution as artists and creators.
Journey, it is the evolvement of the art technique, art ideas, and also not about the artist. Artist, of course, gets evolved, but how the brush on the canvas has got evolved to produce. So that was the main thing. So there is a vast change from in the artist's work, what they were doing 20 years back. These artists I am talking, and now what they are doing.
Shama has witnessed art evolve from the limited boundaries of the real and absolute to the seamless world of abstraction and that which is open to interpretations. Shama's works, influenced by her childhood in Kashmir, speaks about bold abstractions in itself.
As when we started in Kashmir also, I'm a student of art only. And Kashmir, I think everybody is born an artist because it's so beautiful, so natural beauty is so much there. And from landscapes to other restricted forms. Now it's come into, my teachers used to say, don't worry about this, you will, yourself it will evolve. I never used to understand. But now, other day, Keshav Malik ji was here and he said, oh, you have reached.
In tune with the theme, the art show saw quite a number of mythological characters retold and repainted with a contemporary touch. Hanuman no longer carries the mountains in these paintings. Instead, he carries a piece of township dotted with skyscrapers and utterly symbolic of how urban spaces dominate our life and times today.
आजकल जैसा हो रहा है बहुत सारे इंडस्ट्री आ गए तो जहाँ पे खाली लैंड देखेंगे 1 साल या 2 महीना बाद उसमें इंडस्ट्री हो रहा है या माइनिंग के लिए बहुत सारे पहाड़ भी वेस्ट हो रहा है लैंड के जहाँ पे होता है इसमें सिटी इंडस्ट्री डेवलप करता है बिल्डिंग डेवलप करता है तो उस ज़माने जब हनुमान जी गए थे तो उनका हाथ में एक पहाड़ था मेडिसिन प्लांट था तो आजकल ज़माने में जब हनुमान को भेजेंगे तो उनका हाथ में एक बिल्डिंग आएगा.
The journey redefines boundaries of art through intellectuality and experience and speaks about what art was and what it has matured into today.
The journey speaks about human relationships and the changing dynamics of life. Moving on, Stree or woman. She's a mystery, she's a symbol of forgiveness and the expression of patience. To celebrate her is to celebrate creation.
And celebrate we indeed did. On the occasion of International Women's Day, the ICCR and the Bharatiya Sangeet Sadan honoured eminent women achievers from the field of politics, civil service, law, arts and social work. This was presented by Mrs. Salma Hansari, wife of Honourable Vice President of India, Mr. Hamid Ansari, in the presence of His Excellency Shri Murlidhar Bandare, the Governor of Orissa.
हर एक शय का हुस्न लिया
This was followed by Stree, the ballet which explored the various manifestations of a woman. Through Kathak, Uma Sharma depicted the saga of the Indian woman through the ages and her struggle to emerge as an empowered, liberated and independent individual.
औरत के ऊपर क्या क्या जुल्म हो जाता है, क्या क्या अत्याचार होता है और वो सब बर्दाश्त करती है, सब सहन करती है। उसमें इतना बल है कि उसमें इतनी सहन शक्ति भी है, लेकिन अकेली नहीं है वो अपने आप अपने को संभाल के अकेली आगे बढ़ती है, क्योंकि वो सर्वशक्तिमान दुर्गा की शक्ति भी अंदर रखती है।
A woman is Shakti, the creative energy, but she is forced to live under the glory of man. Using history and mythology, the dance story recreated the life cycle of a woman and her constant struggle. But when she finally lets loose her energies, then she becomes Durga, the all-powerful woman of today.
It just came because it's no research required. It's a feeling of what it is to be a woman. And as a woman, I know what it feels like. You know what it feels like. So I just wrote down what was in my mind over many years and experiences. Just a story of the many faces of women.
This long journey of the female was depicted through dance with the help of English and Hindi narratives. Music by Pandit Jaswal Prasad had about it a haunting quality, and the lyrics by late Rifat Saroj added to the mood.
सुगंधित फुलेरों में बसे तुम्हारे केश वो सहज सहज श्रृंगार करे वो सहज सहज श्रृंगार करे तुम्हारे शरीर पर ये पारदर्शी महीन वस्त्र वो सहज सहज श्रृंगार करे वो सहज सहज श्रृंगार करे ये रत्न जड़ित करधनी वो सहज सहज श्रृंगार करे वो सहज सहज श्रृंगार करे.
In a little less than an hour, Uma Sharma, through her fabulous choreography, told the story of the female race as she overcomes subjugation and rejection to finally become the woman of today. Well, it is here that we take a tiny break, but Colors of India will be right back. Welcome back. This person's known not by his name but by his work. The director of Nukkad, the serial that all of us saw growing up, Saeed Mirza, is back, but this time around with a novel about a deliberately forgotten history.
The Monk, the Moor and Moses Ben-Jaloon is a novel about 4 young students in an American university who sets out to discover the truth about their Islamic history. And the story of Rehna, an Iranian from the 11th century, runs parallel to theirs.
It's on the transfer of ideas from the 8th to the 14th centuries and how Europe was actually made. The so-called Renaissance and the Industrial Revolution, the inputs, there were very strong inputs that came through the Islamic civilization into the West. And through the Islamic civilization, the contributions of China and India and Persia and Mesopotamia and Egypt and Greece, which went into Europe.
The book was launched at the India International Centre by Mishrul Hasan, the Chief of the National Archives of India, and Congress politician Manishankar Iyer.
Who created the Taliban? Ask the question. The Taliban was the creation of the West. It wasn't. It's an absolute creation. They were called the Mujahideen. They were called the freedom fighters, the fighters for God and country by the West, and of course Saudi Arabia. So please, one has to get one's history very correct, and so therefore it's to me it doesn't reflect Islam at all.
Using legends and a host of colourful characters, real and imagined, Mirza's books dismantles the carefully manufactured European myth about the making of the modern world.
The book reads more like a screenplay with its many flashbacks and plots. But it is also a personal and a gripping tale with many historical content. Now, as our last show this week, we have for you a solo art exhibition which is about urban realities and abstracts.
For any artist, art is a complex process that involves multiple influences, instances of provocation, and ultimate pictorial evolution. The end creation is therefore left for appreciation and interpretation. Surinder Kaul's art is one such example. Urban Realities is open to all kinds of elucidation.
मुझे एब्स्ट्रैक्शन बहुत पसंद है क्योंकि एब्स्ट्रैक्शन किसी टाइम कुछ कहता है, किसी टाइम कुछ कहता है, ठीक है ना। तो इसलिए फिर मुझे लगा कि मैं एब्स्ट्रैक्ट ही करूं। मुझे एब्स्ट्रैक्शन में काम करना भी अच्छा लगता है और मुझे सिखाया भी गया है। जब मैं पढ़ती थी तब एब्स्ट्रैक्शन ही में सिखाया गया था कि रियल काम तो फोटोग्राफ कर लेता है, तो अभी तो आप एब्स्ट्रैक्ट करके देखो। रियलिटी जो है सारी हमारी कैमरा के अंदर है, तो हम अपना जो क्रिएटिव काम कर सकते हैं वो एब्स्ट्रैक्शन।
Surinder herself is a deft handler of city spaces, real or imaginary. Her images clearly create a habitat laid out for aesthetic appreciation. It depicts urban cities through the use of bright colors or human desires and expectations in an urban setup. Surinder's painting spell out city living in more ways than one. Despite the theme, the paintings are dominated by a sense of abstraction, leaving it to us viewers to interpret and elect.
there's an environment, if you see, which makes you, even without reading that it's urban realities or something, it says it's about a city, it's about a space, it's about it's about environment, the artist's environment, whatever she or he wants to create. So that comes across. Then the vibrancy of colors, obviously her love for medium comes across to me.
These bright colors, both the oil on canvas and watercolors, bring a sense of instant charm, making the paintings lively and engaging. One thus sees two sets of works in her show, those that qualify on the ground of pure aesthetics and those that would define the human situation in relation to his environment. In other words, not just a narrative art, but one that is inching towards a story.
Her keen sense of arrangement, the use of limited tools and the textures in her work. That's what makes it very, very interesting. Well, that's all we have for you on this week's episode of Colors of India, and I will see you next week. But do remember to send in your suggestions and feedbacks onto our Facebook page, and also note that we are now live on YouTube. Until we meet again next week, goodbye.